Hi everyone, I'm Terry Freedlander, and I'm going to talk about deforestation today. Over 502,000 square miles of forest has been lost in the period 1990 to 2016. This presentation will include the following: defining the natural resource, trees, forests. What does it do for us? What is deforestation? Why is it happening? What strategies can reverse the course? Forests. A forest is a land area with tree cover of at least 10%. There are several forest types: primary old growth, secondary growth, tree plantations, tree farms, commercial forests, and I'll also touch on ownership. There are old growth primary forests. They're characterized by their undisturbed nature, native species, and ecological processes that have not been disturbed for several hundred years or more. They comprise some 1/3 of all forests. The other major forest type is that of the secondary growth forest, a stand of trees that has resulted from secondary ecological succession from a natural or anthropogenic disturbance. Finally, tree plantations, tree farms, commercial forests. These are managed tracts with uniformly aged trees of one or two genetically uniform species, usually harvested by clear cutting as soon as they become commercially viable. The other area to note is the ownership area. Forests are owned by different entities, by private individuals, by different governments, different levels of governments, and corporations. This graphic gives you a sense of what ecological services forests provide, from the purification of air and water, to helping control agricultural pests, to protecting coastal shores from erosion by waves, hunting, fishing, tourism, and other leisure activities, helping with biodiversity, helping with pollination, just a host of really important ecological services. Now we move to deforestation. This series of aerial satellite images show Rondônia, Brazil, and it is a tropical forest in Brazil, and it's shown over a 26-year time period. And it's pretty dramatic if you look at from 1975 through to 2001. What we see here at the beginning is a lush tropical forest in 1975. In 1986, a road is first cleared through the forest to allow entry trucks and equipment. We move on to 1986, where you're seeing vegetation has been cleared along the roads, resulting in a fish skeleton pattern on the visuals. More and more paths are cleared. In 1992, more forest lands have become vulnerable until there are no longer spaces between the skeleton bones, as you can see in 2001, and deforestation has raised this forest. So what is the definition of deforestation? Deforestation is the long-term forest conversion to another type of ecosystem. Converted land is used often for agriculture or urban development. So what are the major drivers of deforestation? This map, entitled Primary Drivers of Forest Loss Cover, gives us a very good global view of what those different drivers are. We'll start with commodity-driven deforestation. This is a long-term permanent conversion of forest and shrubland to mining, agriculture, or infrastructure. And that's the red areas that you'll see here. You'll see Southeast Asia. You'll also see South America, the Amazon rainforest, as you can see throughout South America. Shifting agriculture is a small to medium scale conversion of forest and shrubland to agriculture uses that is eventually followed by the reforestation of the lands, and that's the yellow on the map. Forestry as a driver of reforestation is a large scale conversion of forests but happening with managed forests and tree plantations, followed by regrowth and reforestation in ensuing years. Wildfire is a large-scale loss of forests as a result of burning of vegetation in forests. There's no conversion of the lands to other uses after the wildfire has moved through the forest. And forestry is green, wildfire is red. Urbanization is the fifth one, and that's purple, I believe, in the map. And it involves the conversion of forests to develop or redevelop urban centers. So what are the results? The results of deforestation. Ultimately, you're finding devastation and displacement of flora and fauna dependent on the forest for habitat and resources, significant flooding, erosion, landslides, and global increase of greenhouse gases. You're also finding a weakening fitness of tree species, including weakened immunity to plant pathogens, air pollution, and to fires. So what are some of the strategies to combat deforestation? There's several, including the Paris Agreement, forest management strategies, and the United Nations. I'll start with the Paris Agreement. Forests as biological sinks are an important element as the Paris Agreement continues to move toward reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in 2030. This is an accounting and a full cost issue. The accounted credits and debits resulting from forests as a natural resource is a significant consideration for countries in the Paris Agreement. These accounting rules and conditions help member countries to achieve the established targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Forest management strategies. Multifunctionality and sustainability is something that was developed at the end of the 20th century. This forest management strategy included environmental, social, and economic goals. Government public policy mandates that all these goals must be used in the management of forests. What's missing from this management strategy, though, is who the forest owner is. Different categories of forest owners require distinct communication, as respective ownership goals are vastly different. Many European private forest owners have a diverse portfolio of wealth and don't depend on the forest for their livelihoods. This has led to less capitalistic, more environmentally friendly strategies for forests under these private owners. Sufficiency. The sufficiency approach relies on applied practical forest management. Selective cutting, a silvicultural practice, utilizes continuous cover forestry. The Ecological Gifts Program is one that was developed in Canada in 1995. It's a conservation-based approach that moves to transfer ownership rights of forests. It includes ecologically sensitive land or property rights to be donated, and thus the forest is conserved. The Swiss version of this program promotes sustainable forest management instead of preserving land for ecological reasons. These are just a few of the strategies that can work together to reduce deforestation. I really believe it must be a holistic approach, and we must look at the owners of forests as solutions and strategies as they're implemented. And the United Nations has a role in this as a global source to bring countries together to bring up important issues. I really feel the United Nations needs to take even a bigger role in advocating on behalf of this precious resource. This is my last slide. Reverse the course. Who can look at this slide and not feel loss? This is an area in Indonesia where illegal logging activities has led to the loss and devastation of tropical forests. Palm oil plantations are being built. In the top left photo, we see the equipment moving in to take some of the trees, and parts of it you can see are already raised and there's just empty soil. To the upper right, you see single trees on the right part of that photo left behind, whereas it looked very lush and full and green and healthy in the other part of that photo. On the bottom left, this is a road that was carved out in the middle of the forest in order to help develop palm oil plantations. And then finally, the photo on the right, we see, this is in Borneo in Indonesia, cleared trees in a forest located, and again, that has just left this maze of empty lands where trees used to stand. So I hope through all of this you've learned something about deforestation and about some of the options to help make this less of our reality as we move forward. I think it's definitely a holistic approach that's needed, and those are just some of the ideas that I have. So I've got my references here for your review, and thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it.